over to what's called the 2C Ranch, which is right across the creek here. And I'll say it because I know Monty wants me to say it, the old Carrie Miller property. But it's officially called the 2C Ranch. That's named after Cap Crowell, who used to be the last guy that ran cattle from that creek bed all the way to Crown Valley. And the Tortugas, he was one of the major founding forces in that horseback riding group, used to ride. We would do day rides out of that Cap Crowell area, and we would ride over the hill all the way to Crown Valley without running across a home. They had hills up on the hill, or houses on the hillside, but no houses all the way to Crown Valley and back. Wow. So in his honor, we named it the 2C Ranch. There's going to be improvements over there. It's going to be a staging area, probably a little corral over there, some areas to picnic. We have to also realize that we are equestrians, but we have to take care of the other folks that use our trails and our other residents that enjoy our open space. So when that is completed, it will also have areas for picnicking and folks to come walk their dogs and, that type of activities. We have 15 trailhead locations, 15 that have been marked with maps. Hopefully most of you have seen that. Also has, provided by a lot of the ladies here, Renee being one of those, Shelly, who else here helped with the naming? Julie. They went out, they named all of these trails. We got the trails labeled now with signs so you know what trail you're on. There's mile markers so you know approximately how far you are from a trailhead. And now the Equestrian Coalition is going to be printing maps that are going to be placed at all the trailheads in these little boxes that the Girl Scouts came up with doing as a project. So those boxes are in place. I saw one the other day, and there'll be trail maps in those boxes. So that's another way that we are improving the trails. Before that time, the trails weren't named, they weren't marked, and they were kind of a bifurcated system. Largely due to this gal here in the yellow blouse, Shelly, we had this community trails committee that she really was a driving force in keeping that going and keeping it in front of the city council. Because when things aren't really pushed, they tend to drop off into the back burner. And the trail system is one of those things that, although the city spends, I got to tell you, about $100,000 a year in trail maintenance, still there's areas that we need linkages to. There's still areas of improvement. Having this new commission, the Open Space Trails Equestrian Commission, it's kind of taken the place of this Trails Committee, but I think that commission is still going to need some help on trails specifically to keep the trails, get them connected, make sure all our trails are connected. So I think Shelly still has some work to do. We're not going to let her retire. Right, Shelly? But Julie was involved in that too, so was Renee. And, you gals have all been really great on, keeping it in front of the city council. If you guys don't do it, it's not going to get done. It just doesn't get done. There's so many issues in front of the city council at any one time that unless we have advocates, unless you have an advocate for an issue, it kind of gets put to the side until we can get to it. And I'll tell you, like any other business, it takes a long time to get to it. So it's important to stay connected. Our staff is now working towards the Phase 1A improvements to the Northwest Open Space, the place I just talked about, the staging area where Camp Cookie was. And that's 13.5 acres of that for Phase 1A. And that will include a community garden with a number of community plots so people can rent, lease a plot for a garden, a picnic area, the Swanner House Citrus Grove, which the city owns that Swanner House, that beautiful old house there, farmhouse with the water tower. That's a city property. It could be used for a lot of great things. Currently it's being rented out to a private family who pays the city lease, but it could be a great place for an equestrian museum, a great place for a farm museum. We are talking to a few of the farmers in the area here that want to take that citrus grove and bring it back into production, make it a much better, element than the way it is today. Now you got to realize that across the creek there's a big parcel of dead orange trees. That's private property. That's called the Shao Williams property. And that's private property. We have no control over that property. It's essentially between the old Rancho Capistrano where Schuler used to own it and the city open space, that area that's been talked about, San Juan Colleges. Maybe some of you have ever heard about a proposal to put a private college out there. That is the Shao Williams property. I'm speaking about on this side of the creek where the city has the 68 acres by the Swanner House, making that an active, productive farm again. And we have folks that want to volunteer their time and do that. We're working through the foundation to have a nonprofit take that over and make it a working farm. There's also going to be an amphitheater there and also a dog park. The dog park is proposed to be 1.5 acres. We're looking on July 19th, we'll be reviewing the design and the cost estimates for the dog park. And it would include a small and large dog run, the parking lot, an entry vestibule, and a shade area and drinking fountains. So that is something that the Open Space Foundation has agreed to take on the cost of construction for that, and which is going to be, believe it or not, you think just throw some grass seed down and throw a fence around it. It is quite substantial cost that the city, frankly, could use help on, and if the foundation is willing to do it, they will be able to get donations from outside contractors to come in and do a lot of the work. So we'll have the dog park there, the community garden, picnic area, citrus grove, and also there's an area for a small amphitheater, like an interpretive center with a small amphitheater where you could hold classes out there. So that's really exciting. That's just Phase 1A of the Northwest Open Space.
This has been a Low Bouger production.